And then there's another one at Wallace's, which was not recorded by Frank Wallace. We can meet Frank Wallace this week. I don't think you met him.
Yes.
You did meet him.
Yeah, I met him. It's been a while.
Yeah. And the Laird coats, his are much better because Laird put his tape recorder on the bar and drove Chittison, not Chittison, that's his old piano player. The drummer who did no service to Lamb on Meet the Lamb. He drove him to Penn Station and left the recording. And the number that Lambert did, which fascinated me because I knew it, and it's not a common number, but I started listening to the radio when I was 7 or 8, learning seriously listening. And I was sick. I remember being sick in like 1939 or 40 and being in bed and listening. That was the big band era, so you got a lot of good music, a lot of novelty songs. I like some of those novelty songs, like Chicory Chick, Chala, Chala, Chicory. I mean, they're not great songs, but I mean,
Right.
And the song that Lambert picked up from that generation was a Bing Crosby number called I've got to pass your house to go to my house, and that's why I'm so blue, 'cause somebody new, etc., you, etc. And Lambert did it flat out stride.
I love it.
And that was one of the Laird Coats ones. And,
Figuring out all my equipment.
okay. Well, what do you propose for this week?
Well, the main thing I want to do is I brought my digital CD burner, which makes it really easy to transfer the tapes to digital. That's the main thing. And they're kind of, with all the extras, unedited.
Did you bring a tape recorder?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, I brought a reel-to-reel deck, which I borrowed from Scott, actually. I got a nice one. And that's the main thing. That'll take the most time, but that'll be great to be able to hear all the incidentals and
Yeah. Well, I'm talking about the stuff that's already been processed and which is done pretty well. The
Yeah.
thing is, what we did here, we had Lambert came here from 59 to 62. I think he died in 62. I don't know whether he came in 62, but he died like in February. And I have the whole bag of them in there. Those are the ones that I want to get. I want to just get them onto tape.
Yeah.
And then edit them, and I get them on my hard disk. I've got no what's the word I want? I've got no possessive attitude about Lambert. I just want him to be known.
Yeah, me too.
And
yeah, I want to
but
do it as well as
I'd like to
possible.
talk to Scott, who's about commercially selling these things.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know what the laws are, and I don't know whether Scott is doing the laws when he does his discs or not. But it's a ticklish situation because you have to pay ASCAP for the songs that belong to ASCAP, and you have to. There's the Lambert's sister is dead, as far as I know. She's in Princeton. Did you go to the grave? You didn't go to the graveyard, did you?
No, I didn't. I wouldn't have had time today to find it. I'd have to go.
It isn't important, but I have a photo
I'd
on
have
the
to,
internet, an email from this guy named Robert, who's an active piano player. And he doesn't live here, but he went to Princeton. I think he graduated from Princeton or something. And he has a photo of himself at Lambert's tombstone. And he wanted to know what was this, bum, 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 bum. And I explained it to him. It was a perfect thing. Walter Coombs, who's a very good friend of ours, Walter died maybe 5 years ago now. Walter was one of Lambert's close friends. And Lambert went to his house twice on a Saturday that I know of, and Walt recorded him on a Sony that unfortunately dropped out on one channel regularly. But I was at one of those sessions, and I was not at the other. The other one I was not at was the one that they used on the Pumpkin disc, where they asked Lambert to play Hallelujah in as many choruses as possible, and I think he did 8 or 9 different choruses on. But and again, my memory is also helping me, and I haven't heard this again. He did da 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 My Blue Heaven. And he did it with with chords, and I'd love to hear that again. But I heard it in person, but Walt was not recording when that particular one was done on the Saturday I was there. But what I have are all these tapes that were recorded here, and there's a lot of Lambert talking, which is very interesting.
Yeah, I want to hear that.
And I think the first step would be just to record them, back onto your thing without editing, and then start.
That's what I want to do exactly, and I've got the time to do it. So
well, we have a kitchen table which you can set it when Peter goes off in the morning. You set the recording up in there.
Okay.
And then another thing I can do for you is give you copies of all the Lambert that we have on the. I have all Frank Wallace's tapes as well, but there's nothing on them that hasn't been transferred to the. Because Wallace didn't record Lambert talking.
Right.
He just hit the record button when Lambert started, and then hit the stop button as soon as Lambert hit the last chord, which often leaves that lovely fade out. And I don't know how to do that one. There may be a way to do that, but I can't do it.
There's ways. Yeah, I'd like to transfer just for myself as much as possible.
Yeah.
Just the raw footage, even if it's already been done once, that's okay.
Yeah.
Nothing wrong with a little overkill. But that's the first part. Yeah. And then from there, that'll free me. I can take all the time I need to edit and think about which tunes, and think about what to do with it, you know, and do it right. You know.
Well, when Lambert came here, the first time he came, we invited a number of people. And again, one of those things that happens to you, Lambert at the end recorded some piano solos. And one of them was the Moonlight Sonata, but in mono. For some reason, I don't have two channels on that one. But my mother and father were here, and Lambert was taking requests, and Mother asked for Ball on the Jack. And Lambert immediately goes into, I don't know what key he's in, but he's probably an A flat or a D flat. And then he did Chloe. That was my mother and father's song when they were kids, young lovers. And then he did The Bells of St. Mary as piano solos without accompaniment. And then he did the Moonlight Sonata. And unfortunately, the Moonlight Sonata was in mono, but that was then when we had invited Lambert several times just to come by himself. Yeah. And he played stuff. And then one of them is the first number that he recorded that day. My nephew, who's now 50 years old, was like 4, and he started hitting the notes on the piano at the top part, because that's what kids do. And you hear that chung 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 chung, and we stopped him. But Lambert, it didn't bother Lambert. Lambert had the most wonderful personality for that sort of stuff. He had tolerance.
Yeah.
He was not a. I understand from Warren Bechet Jr., Warren Bechet went to hear Lambert once, and Lambert was aggressive that day and said, "You guys are stealing my stuff," which meant that he was probably quite drunk. Because it wasn't a typical Lambert thing, but Lambert had a, I never met this guy. His name was Foster Noble. He was in Overbrook Mental Hospital over the hill here. And Foster Noble played trombone badly. It never bothered Lambert because he liked Foster Noble. And Mike Lipskin did play a lot, or did come a lot to watch Lambert. And Lambert was terribly annoyed because he watched his hands. But I guess he just didn't like Lipskin. And so he would play things backwards or chord bass, whatever, just to throw him off. And none of that is on any of the tapes I have. Lipskin recorded a lot of Lambert, which I don't have. I didn't even answer my letter to him. And Chuck Slade, the drummer, a wonderful friend of ours. We don't see him very much anymore. But Chuck's son has his tapes, which one time I asked him, he said they're all bad. I don't know what bad means in this vocabulary. I just didn't want to loan him the time. The last time I talked to him, he said his son has all the tapes. His son has one of those people with that problem that there's a name for it, where you don't want to leave your house.
Oh, yeah. Which
his mother also had, incidentally. It was Chuck and his wife separated quite some time back. Chuck lives, as far as I know, a single life, but he's a master carpenter, master mechanic, and a wonderful drummer. But he got the carpal syndrome on his, which usually means you're playing them wrong or you're not doing your hands right. I learned from a piano teacher that I had briefly in Argentina, who was a Filipino lady, and she taught me to play from the shoulder. Because I was playing from the wrist, and my wrist, I get tired here, and the balls of my fingers got hurt. And when I started playing with her, and she had me doing this, it's exercise like this and stuff. She did the wonderful job on me because I've never had any problem with that sort of thing since then. But I took about 12 lessons from her, and then they left Argentina, I think. He was actually, her husband was CIA. The CIA was using people that didn't look American,
Mm-hmm.
In fact, one of the other CIA people there, I learned all this from the FBI man who hated the CIA. He was there in Argentina for 7 years. The FBI man, his name was Mickey, whatever. His brother, who died fairly young, was Marion McPartland's drummer.
Oh.
Now, Mickey was not a musician, and he had one son, he and his wife, lovely wife. And I often went to their house for supper, and I'd play. And the kid was very, very young. He used to imitate the fact that I was pounding my feet on the, this is something that musicians do. I don't know if it's the heel or the toe, whatever, but the kid imitated that in me, nothing to do with anything. But Mickey. He's long off my list. He's dead also. He's long off my list. But there were 3 FBI men and 3 CIA men in Argentina that I knew were CIA, and they all had like fictitious jobs. He was supposed to be doing something about boat building. Argentina has so many boat builders you don't believe it. I mean, we're in the Delta area where all the yacht clubs were, and another guy was into perfumes. There was, I don't know whether it was a good cover or not, but that was his cover. And this Filipino, I don't know what he did, but he was a Filipino. He and his wife were both Filipinos. Her name was Rosario. I don't know what his name was. But that had nothing to do with anything. But Lambert came here, and he was very gentle. And the funny time that Lambert came, Peter can tell you about this with more details. He came with Willie Franklin, a friend from Washington, D.C., who was a bookie. And Peter would pick up Lambert and then take him home. Well, Lambert left early that day because this Willie Franklin was doing the black thing. Oh, you people must be millionaires and so on and so forth. They're doing the put on that blacks do to whites. And Lambert was very uncomfortable with that because he was gentle. That's the thing about Lambert that was so interesting. He was a very gentle person. And I think, I don't know what did I tell you a story about Lambert and Count Basie?
I don't think so.
Okay. My good friend in the priesthood who died in 71, just before 9/11, was George Lagos. George is ahead of me. He's older than I was. And George lived about 6 blocks away from Lambert's bar in West Orange, which is now a Chinese restaurant. Wallace's bar, actually. And George had this magnificent story that a lot of the guys from the neighborhood went to hear Lambert. And the bar where Lambert played was what they call Tory Corners of West Orange. It's where, God knows where the name comes from.
What was the address?
What?
What was the address?
Well, the bar was on High Street.
Okay.
And I think it was Washington was the cross street, but it was on the corner.
I'll have to go try to find it.
Oh, I can show you that. I can take you over there. It's not far. But Lambert, these guys would go, and Lambert was a talker. I mean, he played a tune. And I mean, the thing that was impressive about Lambert was he just liked to play the piano. He didn't take, a half hour on, a half hour off. That had nothing to do with Lambert. He was at the piano all night.
Yeah.
And so these guys would chat with Lambert, and Lambert would talk about Duke Ellington and Fats Waller. And these guys thought this was a put-on. The guy in this obscure bar in West Orange can't be a friend to these fabulous names in jazz, So when Basie came to town, they set Lambert up. They said, we're going to overhear Basie. Do you want to come with us, Donald? And I guess it was a Monday or Tuesday. Those are the 2 nights he didn't play. And Lambert said, okay. And they thought, this is going to cut out this crap about talking about all these great people. And they walked in the place where Basie was playing. Basie saw Lambert in the doorway and stopped the band, came down and said hello to him and put him on the piano stool. And that was the respect Basie had for Lambert.
Yeah.
And when Peter and I went to the Montclair State Teachers College up here for a concert with Basie, after the thing was over, we brought a Lambert record, I think one of the Pumpkin records up, the Giant Stride. And Basie took it and he told out to his wife, hey, look, here's Donald. It was,
Oh, good.
The one I would love to be able to hear was the Beatle, who Lambert did a lot of work with him together sometime, and his name is in the book. They all played ragtime and so on, but
Yeah.
I don't think there's an existing recording of him anywhere.
Did Lambert ever mention him?
I don't remember whether we ever brought it up. If you brought it up, he would mention it. He wasn't that in awe of Fats Waller, who I love. I mean, Waller's done so much good stuff. But Lambert's comment, which you have to kind of interpret, he says, some guys will blow you out of the place in the key of F. That was his assessment of Fats Waller.
Yeah.
But,
Yeah. That's interesting.
But the Seminole Sam, that was another one that Lambert actually played duets with.
Yeah.
And there's no recording of Seminole Sam anywhere in the world.
None that I know of, yeah. There's two pieces by the Beatles. You probably have heard.
No, I haven't heard them. No.
Oh, really? I've got them. It's on this little device. I can play them for you. He did a radio show with Art Hodes.
Oh, boy, yeah.
And he did Carolina Shout and Keep Off the Grass. And that's it. There's two numbers.
There goes both two numbers. They're great numbers, both.
And
Lambert played Carolina Shout, and he didn't play the same order that Johnson wrote the music out. I practiced Carolina Shout for years. I still can't play it.
he does it in a different key, too. I
Lambert
forget which
did
key.
it in G flat.
Yeah. And the Beatle does it in an odd key. Like he does it in B flat or something. It was written in G. It starts in G.
I have it.
And then, so that was.
Well, Lambert liked the flat keys, especially D flat.
Did he ever give you any piano pointers?
Yeah, the one I showed you about he gave it to Peter actually, about the left hand, going like a karate chop down to the low notes.
Right. Yep, I remember you telling me that.
But pointers, apart from that was actually given to Peter.
It was interesting because he probably held his fingers together like that.
Well, I do. I mean, I do that.
When he hit the low note,
Yeah.
and I don't. I actually don't. I spread them, but it puts more stress on the joint to do that.
And Lambert did talk about the fact that he had small hands, so he had to split a tenth.
Mm-hmm.
And he said, I know he said it to us or to Peter only, if I could split a tenth, I could split a 12th or a 16th or a 32nd. And that's what he did a lot, He didn't have any limitations on that part at all. But I don't recall him ever talking about technique. But what the thing about Lambert was that he sat at the piano keyboard like this. And in the left hand, from here up, it hardly moved.
You mean at a slight angle? Or
At a slight angle.
Was that to be able to talk to people? Or?
I don't know. I think it was,
What?
well, whatever it was. When he was with other musicians, that's the way he did it. And it's from here on down, it was moving fast. From here up to here, it was not moving at all.
Right.
And he would say, like, I got a lot of stuff up my sleeve, He didn't have to. I was watching a Marx Brothers movies, and Chico Marx was playing, probably in the C or G, but he was hitting the notes, looking this way, and hitting the left hand absolutely perfectly.
Yeah.
Which again, I've become more and more aware of the accuracy of our bodies in so many. I mean, for example, if you're reading a book and two pages stick together, you can feel it with your fingers that it's thicker than the last
That's
page.
right.
And we don't think about that very often, I guess. But there's so many things. And I have a problem. I'm still practicing the piano. I'm still learning.
No, me too.
And I do the hand and exercise. Bum, 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 bum. I have to concentrate on them. Yet when I'm playing piano, the fingers automatically follow the chords. One thing I often do is raise the fifth, like for the second half of the bar, especially if it's going into the like from F into B flat. And I know which. I mean, my fingers know which finger to make the fifth go up. It's a sensitivity I have that I've always had it. I had it when I played the ukulele, which was the first instrument I ever played. But and that fascinates me because when I'm doing it from a musical sense, I've got control. when I'm doing it as an exercise, I have to concentrate because I can't play that
Yeah.
kind of exercise as well today.
That's right.
I've played it for years.
That's right, but you have to concentrate on those exercises. But then they do help your playing. They somehow, later on you're playing a tune and you're not thinking at all about the exercise,
Right.
and they do help. They always did help
Well, I never
a
did.
little bit, at a
Yeah.
time.
I haven't been doing a lot of playing lately. I've got chronic fatigue syndrome, which means I'm tired a lot,
Yeah.
and I haven't got. That's one of the things where I haven't got any more done on the Lambert stuff.
Yeah.
But I wanted, I'm still learning the piano. I'm 76, and I still, and that fascinates me for another reason. Lambert was 57 when he died, and we always thought of him as an old man. Now, I don't consider myself an old man. So.
Yeah. Wow.
Ronnie Naspo and Ricky Nelson were good friends, and they went to Wallace's often, and they went with Lambert sometimes other places. They accompanied Lambert one time to, no, I can't think of the name of the place in New York. It wasn't Birdland. It was one of the famous places, and Lambert went over there, and they all talked to him and so on and so forth. He played intermission piano, and Ronnie says they were standing on chairs. He was with old friends, and it was one of those moods where he was just perfect.
Yeah.
And the same thing was true at Newport. When Frank Wallace brought Lambert, Frank Wallace was like a guardian angel for Donald. He brought Donald to Newport, and he wanted to play well, and he wouldn't let him drink. And when Lambert was about to go on stage, he said, "Frank, I can't play. I'm shaking."
Mm-hmm.
So he had one or two drinks, and it was like perfect. Just brought him to the edge,
Yeah.
and he was fabulous at Newport. Absolutely fabulous.
Yeah, from the tape. Now that story you mentioned about him playing, I Know That You Know, that was at Newport.
Basin Street East. That's the restaurant they went to. And
Oh, okay.
other places.
Basin Street East. But that I Know That You Know.
Yeah.
That was at Newport.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
He did. The Voice of America did Newport 3 days in a row.
Mm.
That part of Newport, that's the piano sessions, with Rudy Blesh as the MC, but it was Willis Conover's program. I sent 2 or 3 letters to Willis Conover. I presented the Porteña Jazz Band from Argentina, because he was playing these Russian and Polish jazz bands, which I didn't think were particularly good. But he had a kind of I guess it was a philosophical thing. He wanted to promote the fact that there was jazz in Russia and so on.
Right.
And I wrote about, I'll give you another one, Willis Conover. This is fascinating, and maybe someday will come to light, but probably not. I had a dear friend in the priesthood who entered the seminary late. He had a very interesting history. He was big for his age, and he left home at 14 or 15 because of his father. His mother spoke French. His father and mother both spoke French. And Bill Lindgren. Lindgren is a Swedish name which means green tree. Lind is tree and gren is green. Lindgren and I were very close, but he died fairly young. But we went to Europe together in 1960, and I learned all these stories. He found that the French that he spoke up till 7 years of age came out. But Bill, his father married again, and the second wife was not terribly friendly to the kids. And Bill was bold. I mean, he was not a typical New Yorker, In New York, if you hold the door open for somebody, 75 people walk through and nobody says thank you, which is not true anywhere else in the world. But Bill and I were very close. And Bill, where am I going with this story? Hold on.
With Conover.
Oh, yeah. Bill, as a kid, he had an eye that went off to the side. So he was 4F, basically. But because he was proud and very much a New Yorker, he got the exemption from the draft for political reasons. Like he was working in a place where he was needed and with the music or so on.
Yeah.
And he passed himself off as older than he was at this stage. But he went to the WGMS in Washington, and he and Willis Conover were the 2 engineers. And Bill had a fabulous sense of microphone placement, like they'd send him out to record the Navy band or something. And he had a sense of just where to put the microphones. But one day, Duke Ellington shows up at WGMS, and he goes into the studio. It was his mother's birthday, and he was drunk. Now, Ellington left drinking altogether after this.
Mm-hmm.
So we're dealing with something during the war years, I think.
Yeah.
And he kept saying, "Happy birthday, Mother," but he played for an hour, and they recorded the whole thing.
Wow. Oh, hey.
The discs do not exist. I wrote to Conover on that guy. I never got an answer from Conover. But I thought that, and Bill had a copy, and he left his copy with a Jesuit named Father Hayden, who was like a spiritual director, because Bill was baptized Catholic as a child, and then his father, left the church and didn't practice his religion, and Bill was one of 8 children, and half of them came back to the Catholic faith. And Bill was the one that actually went into the seminary. He was a very fine priest, very funny guy. I mean, I remember we went over to the electronic show in New York City with an audio engineer who was also a friend, a fellow from Northville, New Jersey. And there were 3 of us in Roman collars and this engineer, the 4, we were a quartet. And we didn't want to buy a ticket. We wanted to, and Bill says, "Leave it to me." He walks up to the place where they take the ticket. He says, "Is this where I buy a ticket?" "Oh, Father, come right in." The 4 of us walked in. And this engineer says, I'm sorry that I came with you guys because I thought I had an in. You guys got the in. It was funny. Those days when you went anywhere, you wore a collar. I don't wear the collar hardly any time. I mean, if I go to the hospital, I do because it saves a lot of questioning and so on. But But Bill was a great guy. He was also very musical, but he didn't play an instrument. He had a number of songs that he sang that he learned young, and with her head tucked underneath her arm. That some ghost story about the English, folklore song. But let me see, what else can I clue you in on?
Those discs, Duke Ellington discs, floating around somewhere.
Well, there were only 2 copies. I mean, there were transcriptions. They were not, commercial or anything.
It'd be amazing. I'd find those.
And I'd love to have that.
Mm-hmm.
And I may have an in to get it if Father Hayden left. If they took all his stuff and put it in storage, but he's been dead 40 years, 30 years, But
Oh my.
it may still be around. It's just that I never pursued it with the Jesuits. Let's put it that way in Washington.
Yeah.
Walter Coombs was interesting. Walter was a pianist in Washington, D.C. He had done all of the exercises. I remember one day he was playing some classical. I named the composer at the time, but it wasn't anything. There were tunes, but they were actually playing piano exercises, and he was doing one of them. Walter was a beautiful guy who had. He had married in Washington, and then he came up here, and he eventually married a woman my mother loved. Elsie went out of her mind in the last years of her life. But Walt and Elsie lived in near Morristown, and he would play the piano every night for an hour or so after supper. And Elsie used to sing some things, and they were a nice couple. But Walt was. He played at the Blue Note in is that what they call it? In Washington D.C. It was the principal jazz thing, and he says one day he's playing not Carolina Shout, a song that's similar, written by Joe Sullivan.
Oh, Little Rock Getaway.
Little Rock Getaway.
Yeah.
And the guy comes by and tapped on it. He said, "If you're going to play it right." It was Sullivan.
Was this Blues Alley?
Blues Alley. That's it.
Yeah, that's
Alley,
the DC. Or yeah.
I think I went there once. I think, I'm not sure. But Walt somehow got connected to Lambert up here and became his very close friend. And he would have Lambert come by on Saturdays. And Lambert, because he was alcoholic, needed like 1 or 2 drinks to get him in the groove.
Mm-hmm.
And when you're not alcoholic and you have 1 or 2 drinks, you lose something.
Yeah.
When you're alcoholic, you gain. Then you go 2 or 3 drinks more, and then you lose it again.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, Walt was a nice guy and a very good piano player. His problem was when he drank, he got away from doing the rhythm and just like punctuating the music. And so he eventually gave up drinking entirely. I mean, I don't know whether I gave it a copy to you, but there's a CD that I made out of a tape that I recorded in, I think, 82. No, it couldn't be 82. Yeah, it could be. In Union City, New Jersey, where Peter's on trombone and I'm on piano. And the reason I'm on piano, because we got Wild Bill Whalen, who sounds very much like Wild Bill Davison. Actually, was a friend of Wild Bill Davison. When Davison came to town, those two got out of town together, which didn't make his wife very happy. But Davison, and we had a piano player, a clarinet player I never met before. He's long dead. And the drummer was, oh God, he's a musical family. His brother plays bass and his father's a piano player. Father leads the Bobcats. They got official permission to use their name, and they go on cruises and so on. I have this trouble with names lately. Eddie Metz. Eddie Metz, the junior, was the drummer on the thing. And Randy Reinhardt, no, Randy wasn't there. Randy was at a different concert. But we did the concert and I recorded it. And I was piano player only because 3 days before the concert, Walter, who's a very close friend of Whalen, fell down the stairs in his home and broke his ankle.
Okay.
So that's why I'm the piano player.
Yeah.
Louis Massettier was here recently, and we didn't know it. We didn't go see him in Jersey.
Huh. Yeah, I didn't know it either. Gets over here from time to time.
And Louis was one of two piano players from Paris. He used to play together, and the other one committed suicide. I haven't got his name.
Yes, Francois.
But I have his cassette somewhere.
His first name. Yes, I've got an album they did for Stomp Off Records together.
Very good, yeah.
And they did a 2-piano thing. And he was a good piano player. And he could play Tatum style runs in the right hand. He had that kind of facility. Good player.
I can't do runs. My left hand is strong because it's a gift. I'm not left-handed, but I have a wonderful comfort with the stride bass. It just comes automatically, and I can't play without it.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, I always did. I started with ragtime as a kid, and now it's automatic. You know, it's hard for me to not do it.
Right.
You know.
There's Neville Dickey is the English one who plays some Lambert style.
Yes.
And I was at a concert where Neville did the Nitra's Dance.
He does a Nitra's Dance, yes.
And that was the hit of the night.
Oh yeah.
But Neville lacks something that Lambert had. And Dick Wellstead, we talked to Wellstead a lot. My brother knew him quite well, and I got to talk to him. I asked Wellstead to give me lessons. He says, I don't teach. That's the end of that conversation. But Wellstead said he couldn't get that snap that Lambert had. That was Wellstead's analysis of Lambert. And he did So in Love Rag because he wanted to do a tune in Lambert style, which Lambert never recorded.
That's what I wanted to do. That's interesting that he came to the same conclusion. That's what I've been trying to do. I mean, I've been working up a couple of things in his style, but it also means that I wanted to study his style.
Yeah.
So I've done some transcriptions and things like that.
Yeah.
But that's good.
We have somewhere among our papers somebody named Sinding, probably Swedish, wrote out Russian Rag. That's what it's called.
Okay.
The way Lambert style.
All right.
And I learned one thing from Lambert about the If Dreams Come True. That first chord. I'll give it to my piano. I played an F. I think I did.
Yeah, he did. I don't know. He played it in C, I think.
Coates. Laird plays trumpet, not terribly well.
Yeah, I've seen
But
that name.
Laird is the brother of Don Coates.
Oh, yeah.
And there's another piano player named John Coates out on the west coast of Jersey, who I've never heard, but he's no relation. But Don Coates played with the Countsmen. It was a band formed with Basie. Basie members like this. Do you want some more?
Yeah.
With Basie musicians, and Don is their piano player.
Good. All right.
But Laird is a nice guy. One of the nicest people I've ever dealt with. He was a reporter for the Bergen Record, one of the local newspapers, based out of Patterson, basically. Bergen is the North County of New Jersey. It's up to the New York State line, and it's not as good a newspaper as the Star Ledger, which is a Newark paper. But the problem I have with that paper, the stories are all over the place. International, national are side by side. And you can't find. But Laird Coates was another fan, and there's a fellow named Thorne. I haven't talked to him in person in the Outer Banks of North Carolina, who was a regular at Wallace's, and very much a regular because Frank Wallace called him Thorny. Mm-hmm. And I have to really talk to him because he's got a lot of Lambert material as far as knowing Lambert personally and so on and so forth. But I mean, Peter and a friend of Peter's who's a doctor who's also got one of those crippling diseases now is Nick Wilson. He's living with his sister in Philadelphia, I think. Nick Wilson and Peter went to the Wallace's several times a week. I mean, when you had Lambert available, you didn't. And I was a priest at the time when priests were very limited to things that they could and couldn't do, and I couldn't go to, even without my collar, I couldn't go to Wallace's. Yeah. Later on, it wouldn't have been a problem, but at that time in 1957, when I was ordained, one of my sorriest moments was Peter talked about Lambert because he was going to these jam sessions, and I hadn't never heard Lambert yet. So Peter, I come home one Sunday. My parents were away in Florida. They went to Florida for 2 or 3 weeks every year. But, my parents were comfortable. I mean, this house is an obvious example. They were true middle class. They were not, wealthy class at all. But they went to Florida, and I came home one Sunday, and I had a parish up in Bergen County, north of here. And I come home, and I look forward to being with Peter. Peter's always been a nice guy to be around. And there's a note on the door. I'm not home today. I've gone to a jazz session with Donald Lambert. I was depressed because he was there and I wasn't, Yeah. But the guys that followed Lambert were very loyal. I mean, there was a whole group of them and Lambert was one of those musicians. His drive was to play piano. It was not, and friends. He loved friends. So if a group of friends invited him somewhere, he said yes. He didn't have any problem with that at all. He had none of those bad manners that some very, very excellent musicians have, where they won't play unless somebody's a perfect musician. I mean, Randy Reinhardt's terrible. I love Randy, and Randy's one of Peter's closest friends. But Randy, we'd go to these jam sessions here, and if the musicians weren't good, Randy'd walk out. He just wouldn't take any more. And we had a jam session here at Teeny's Bar, which is about a mile away here in Montclair. And we did Dinah. And the trumpet player played the whole tune in A flat, the whole chorus, while the rest of us are in F. Never caught on. I mean, it was weird.
That's the 2 keys for Dinah.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's funny. That's never changed. Yeah.
But Peter got to know Lambert very, very well, and they had a lot of conversation. Peter can tell you more about Lambert in that sense than anybody else, because he was part of Lambert's inner circle. Is that the way to say it? Sure. But Lambert was a talker. He loved to talk. He loved to chat. Yeah. And like between tunes, it would be a fairly long time, Lambert, but because he was talking, and there were so many interesting points in the conversations. And I was working on, which I'm still working on, Maple Leaf Rag. I'm getting better at it, but I wouldn't play in public yet. Mm-hmm. But Lambert did an invitation to me on Maple Leaf Rag, which is terribly funny. Oh, and the first record that came out with the Pumpkin label, not Giant Stride, the one that came out on the Pumpkin label, It could be.
It might be the one. He does, well, he did T for Two so often. But he always did different variations on it. Every recording was different. And he does
In one on the Wallace tapes, he does the melody for the first chorus.
Yeah.
The actual melody, which he never did. I mean, you know.
Yeah, the real melody.
Yeah.
I liked it when he played the one he starts out with the verse in the right hand and the chorus in the left. That's my favorite. That's it.
Oh, I don't know that one. I can't identify. But Peter, and it's on one of the Wallace tapes. I think Peter may have been there. That Lambert always did the verse to Hallelujah.
Mm.
But Peter just came home and said, "Well, God, Lambert started out the Hallelujah with the stride in the verse."
Yeah.
And there is one where he's striding the verse, and he goes right into Hallelujah. You know, he played Hallelujah T for Two every night,
Yeah.
and probably other tunes that he played. Because but on the other hand, then he'd play some obscure tune that nobody knew what the hell it was.
That's what's amazing to me. I mean, I go into the bar and there's certain tunes I'll play every night, but it's the memory for those melodies is amazing.
Well, he obviously had a photographic melody, and he did have absolute pitch. I don't know how.
He had pitch.
Oh, absolutely, yeah.
Huh.
That's why when the piano was half a tone down, he couldn't play it. Because when he hit an F note, he had to hear F. If he didn't hear F, he couldn't continue because it confused him. Another thing Lambert told us, he couldn't play a piano where they had a mirror in front of the keys.
Mm-hmm.
Why, I don't know. Whether he looked, and the piano that he played had scuff marks where the left hand would hit, brush against the back part of the key.
Oh.
You know, the
Really?
backboard.
Wow, he played that deep into the key. That's interesting.
Well, he didn't actually hit it hard, but with constant just grazing it,
yeah,
he dug into it.
that's right. Yeah, just constant. But with shorter fingers, like I've always assumed he probably had hands similar to my size, which is, I mean, I can reach a few tenths, but not all of them.
You mean like C and F?
Yeah, C to E.
Yeah, I can do that too.
I can do that.
I can't do D to F sharp.
No way. But yeah,
But Lambert
if he's
couldn't-
scraping the back of the
Lambert
backboard,
couldn't do that at all. He had small hands.
He might have been even
He
smaller.
could hit an octave easily.
Hmm.
But apart from an octave, I don't know whether he could hit a ninth. He was a
Wow.
short guy. He was like 5'5". He wasn't a big man.
But that's interesting because if he's hitting that backboard, that it tells you something about.
And
'cause I
again,
never do that.
he was never limited by the length of the keys. I mean, by the length of the keyboard.
Yeah,
He could break a tenth or a 32nd.
I had never heard him, and I've been transcribing some of his things, and he was brilliant at voicing a chord because that's what it's all about.
Yeah.
He could voice a chord, so you thought he had bigger hands
Yeah.
than he did, and some of them I have to really dig deep to try to figure out how is he voicing. It's like Ellington, he's very, very clever with note choices.
Yes.
So that he could, these effects. Oh man, and it's not easy to write down. You got to keep listening to it over and over again.
Yeah. I would never even attempt it. I'm not that good. I think you have to have good pitch, not sort of absolute pitch. Some people can hear that. I mean, my friend in the parish I was up in northern Jersey was the organist. We worked very well together with the music program in the parish. And he went to Juilliard. He says they had a young Asian lady. You could have several people go to the keyboard and hit all the keys except one, and she could identify the key that was not hit.
Yeah.
Again, it's an ephemeral thing. I mean, because it's not important to have absolute pitch, but it helps in some cases.
It seems to help.
Well, I think a lot more people who play professionally have absolute pitch than we were aware of.
I wonder about that. I know very few that I know of that definitely have it.
Well, who was the saxophone player with Ellington that they called it?
Oh, which one?